So let's check out the box of the Lightning Collection Power Rangers Cross Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I was super excited about this crossover. I read the comic, was kind of about the comic, wasn't a huge fan of it, but the idea of getting the toys, because the designs for the Rangers were dope, and well, not the Rangers, for the Turtles were dope. I'm hoping that if the Lightning Collection does come back, that we do get the second brand of the Ninja Turtle suit, which were more dynamic in color instead of the traditional red, blue, yellow, pink, black that we got with the Power Rangers. And then we get the mutant form of the Power Rangers in their dinosaur forms, which would be no pun intended, more phenomenal. But let's check out the box. This box better than the box he was held in. So we get the awesome art that has been key to the Lightning Collection for ever since its inception, where we get the wraparound of the artwork for both Raphael and Tommy. On the back we get photos of the actual toy, and that's it. Nothing on the bottom, nothing on the top. Normally I would say, hey, you know what, this box is plain Jane, but the artwork on this is so cool. And once again, hand-drawn artwork, not a render or anything of that nature. And the way that's sitting on the box, I am a huge fan of the way the Lightning Collection used to do artwork. So this box is totally better than your mom. And it gives you this cool picture of Raph holding his sides, which he can't do with the toy. But that's fine because it's artwork that I didn't expect it to be accurate. Let's get it out the box and see what comes with it and if it's worth our time and money. What's in the box? So I'm cheating a bit. This is my third set of Power Rangers. I originally got one when they first launched 3 years ago. I got one from Burlington Coat Factory because they were super cheap. I think I got it for like 15 bucks. And then my brother got me one for Christmas because he knows that Raphael, my favorite Ninja Turtle, Tommy, my favorite Power Ranger, awesome gift. Now, do I wish he had made the assumption that, of course, I would have this toy 2 or 3 times over? Sure, but now I have a third set of Power Rangers. So what do we get in the box? We get Tommy, and he comes with his foot soldier head because that was the whole point. He was supposed to be in disguise trying to save his friend in the comic. And you get his foot soldier head with him on. He's not evil. He's just pretending to be evil so he can save his friend from the Shredder. Shredder is actually trying to get Tommy's morpher, and that's why we get the morph Shredder as the evil Shredder form. We get Raphael with his gold armor and his swords, gold on the back. What you get with him is his additional head, and I think this is the only complaint I have with the whole series, is that these heads are horrible. I guess they fit more with the style of not the comic, but necessarily the style of the head, but not a fan of it. You get 2 fists. You get a hand that I'm assuming is to probably hold the sides best possible, and maybe in the pose of the box art. You get a punching effect for Tommy. You get a cowl for when he takes his mask off, and you get 2 additional fists for it. This is what you call premium boxing. You get a bunch of stuff with it, and it makes a bunch of sense. This is something I wish Hasbro continued to do, and I guess you kind of paid a premium for it before it got discounted out at all the stores like Ross and Burlington and all that other stuff. But this is what you should get in a box with figures. You should get multiple hands. You should get different effects. You can get weapons. That is what you should get when you get an action figure. So what's in the box definitely wouldn't have Mills shoot you, but it just makes you disappointed when you see other boxes and it's like, oh, that's the same lightning effect that I got last time, or that's the same weapon that I got with the other two toys, or this is the same exact scope. Everything in here is brand new. You paid for it if you bought it originally, but I say it was worth it. Now let's see if these guys have any dynamic poses. I'm gonna go on a limb and say no, because we have a bunch of stuff hindering them.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and...
Okay, both characters are hitting the T pose easily. Let's see how far they can look up. Neither of them can look up because Raphael's head is hindered by the sculpt of his neck, which they made very thick. And I guess it matches the body, but it makes it impossible to move. And also the way his shell is shaped is that it makes it impossible for him to actually move it into beyond that position. But he has a little bit of up, just not a lot. In fact, when he just fell, his little bit of up, as you can see, a little bit of up went down the second that it hit. It's not a lot. So I don't know if turtles cannot look up, but this turtle cannot. And Tommy cannot look up at all because his neck is hindered by his hair. Let's take off the mouthpiece and see if we can get him to look up with the foot soldier head.
A few moments later.
And we're back, and as you can see, without the hair hindering him, he has the articulation to look up completely. If you have him without his mask on, without the foot soldier mask on, you're going to have limited articulation in the neck because his hair isn't going to stop him from moving. But outside of that, actually decent figure with his head. You can look up, good dynamic posing for him from that regard. He gets a 3 out of 3 because he has a head that allows him to do it. He can, he gets 2 out of 3. Let's see if they can sit. Tommy easily sits down, a little bit off because of the cloth from his suit, but yes, he has a weird sitting pose. Let me fix it. A little bit better. He can sit. If you had a chair that was proportionate, he would sit down properly, but he actually has, his hips can get him not quite 90, but like I said, that's hindered by the cloth in his costume. So his hips are being pushed down by the costume. But if they wasn't, he can actually get his legs in a 90 position and sit properly. Let's see if Raphael can do better. He can't look up, but can he sit? Hips aren't quite 90, but he can tippy toe sit. So if he was sitting on the bar stool back there, he'll be fine. Not quite as dynamic, but 2 or 3, not so bad. Let's see if they have the articulation to get him in better poses. Raphael actually does have hip articulation, so it gives him a little bit more flexibility in his movement, so he can get into some of those high yaw poses that you expect. And I don't want him to fall, but as you can see, hip articulation gets him into more dynamic poses. Let's move him out, my hand out the way. You can get into more dynamic poses. Some of the problems that you get is that doing those more dynamic poses, as you can see, you're bending his weapon in the process to get him in that position. But other than that, he's actually in really good, he has the ability to get into some decent positions. He has hip mobility. He does have torso mobility, but it's hindered by his shell. It's the same thing that you see with NECA, is that they put the torso, articulation in the side so that he can move side to side. But because this shell is rigid, he cannot move forward or back. So he can get into some more dynamic poses, but not a lot because of that. Like you might be able to get him into a cartwheel, but you're not going to get him into anything else. Because of the shell being rigid, he cannot do a backflip. So Raphael is pretty hindered, but he's a turtle. But I wish he wasn't so hindered because he's also supposed to be a ninja. He's a mutant ninja before he's a turtle. So yeah, that's sad. Let's see if Tommy can get into better positions. Well, let's at least see if Raphael can kick high. Turn the hip. And we get a decent kick Not quite high enough to call it a high kick, but a pretty straightforward kick. A little bit higher, probably kicking someone in the chest. Decent. Kicking someone in the chest, not so bad. Let's see what Tommy can do. Well, Tommy obviously has a little bit more articulation because he's not hindered by his shell. So we have him get into a regular pose. He can turn his hips. He does not have hip articulation, but he does have an ab crunch. And he has a hip flex, so he can bend up back and forth like this. He can kick up so high. He actually has the ability to do almost a full split. He's definitely kicking someone in the face. Once again, because of his lack of articulation in the lower hips, he can only get in a certain position. He can't do like the superhero pose. He might be able to do a Kamehameha pose, but not really well. He can't get his hips above his waist because of it, so he won't get him doing like backflips or rolls of that nature. But fairly decent articulation, not the greatest, not the worst. But let's check out their style and see if it matches what we were expecting.
Pretty good.
So this costume is not quite as good as what we expected, what I expected from the comic. We wanted to have, I wanted to have more shading and things of that nature. And as much as I hate shading, I think it would have brought this toy out. It looks very plain Jane as is. It's just basically a big chunk of gray plastic with purple highlights. The Tommy head is just reuse of a different Tommy head, and they just changed the color of the headband to be purple instead of green. But yeah, the style is fairly decent. Not the greatest, far from the worst that we've seen, but could be better. As for Raphael, the style on this thing is phenomenal. I think my biggest issue that I've had with this is that because of the lack of articulation, because of what it is, you end up with certain things that you can't do. But other than that, it's great looking gold on the chest. The gold on the front is not the same gold on the back, so this is a little bit more flat and not as shiny as the front. You get the same gold that's on the front on his armbands, and you get his side, which is really well done. Yeah, this is a really good figure outside of the articulation, and I'm a huge fan of it. You get really good detail in the face, red eyes, really good use of the Tyranno helmet. Like I said, that's a completely new scope. The only time they might reuse it is if they decide to redo this line and they want to actually go into the second series for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Power Ranger crossover. So, is it worth the money?
I need about $350.
And the answer is originally, absolutely not. When it first came out, and I believe they were almost $60. No, not worth it. I, as a Lightning Collection fan, Power Ranger fan, and a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan, as a fan of all three of those properties, it was a no-brainer for me. But when they first came out, way overpriced. If they were more like $40, absolutely. That was, once again, you're getting two figures, you're getting really good things. And I can't knock Hasbro for the price. I understand. Completely new sculpt. Even though you use the body 4 times because you have 4 turtles, it's still a brand new mold for the turtles. You had to make brand new molds for the weapons. Brand new one. I'm not sure if all the head sculpts are identical to Raphael's, the weird odd shape, so that it looks like they fit in a helmet. But you get new helmets for everyone. You get new body mold, and you get a you just get this awesome figure. None of this is reuse. There's no way that they could have reused it. But I think it was overpriced for what it was. I understand you got to pay for the new mold. You have to pay for the license for Ninja Turtles and Nickelodeon. But this was a little bit not quite what I was expecting in price. But now that you can get it at a discount from Ross or Burlington Coat Factory or any of the places that are who buy the liquidated stock from Hasbro and other places, and you can get it at half price, absolutely worth it. Even if you're not a fan of the comic, if you're just a fan of Power Rangers or you're a fan of Ninja Turtles, go get it. If you can get it for like 20 bucks, 15, 20 bucks, absolutely worth the price. I'm a huge fan of, like I said, all three properties, so it was a no-brainer for me. Anyway, Pigface McGee sign out. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.